Hello, everyone. Yes, we're ready to go. Welcome to the Presley Post. I'm super excited for you all to be here today. My name is Jasmine Presley. I am the owner of the Presley Post and the founder, creative director. And I'm super excited to host Tim Economic Development and Equity Plan. A little bit about my story. I won't hold you guys up because I want to hear more about his plan, but I've been open here at the Presley Post since November 1st, and our memberships are growing, and this is a center of economic empowerment for especially minority-owned businesses. We've got a variety of different professions within this space, from other realtors to branded and marketing experts to therapists, artists. So this is a creative space. It's a shared collaborative workspace. And I just want to open the doors for everyone to just come together. I believe that when we do share space to have these type of conversations and network together and build together, we can get a lot more done. So again, I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I'm a writer. The Presley Post all started as a blog, a blogging website that I built from scratch just in a time where I was going through my own self-help journey, my own financial journey, and I'm just wanting to share these certain truths and information with others. And the feedback I got from that was very powerful. And then all of a sudden, it evolved into an online community. And here we are today, like holding physical space. And it's just really exciting. Like this, this is a big deal for me and within my family, within the community. And I'm just super excited about all that is to come. I'm also a realtor and I'm in the financial industry. So this is a space that I really use to give back to the community as well. And we've had financial literacy classes and book clubs and just all types of things going on. So you can find out more about the Presley Post at thepresleypost.com and at the Presley Post on our social media channels. And that's basically it. Thank you guys.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Angelique Johnson. I am excited to introduce future Mayor Timothy E. Findley Jr. I'm nervous, though, because I am taking the place of the wonderful, magnificent civil rights leader, Mattie Jones, who unfortunately could not make it with us this morning, but she did leave and write some words that I'll be reading on her behalf. And I just wanted to make a notion that I have been an entrepreneur for over 11 years. I've worked with future Mayor Timothy E. Findley Jr. on several wealth and economic development initiatives, particularly for those that are underserved. in our communities. We're talking about female business owners, Black business owners, Hispanic, Latino business owners. And we've done wonderful programming all through the support of his organizations, whether it is through Kingdom Fellowship Christian Life Center or Life Development Corporation, through his efforts in the city that he's been pushing. So this is not new to him. And that's all I'll say about that. I know we have a time limit, so I'm going to go ahead and read Mattie Jones's words that she has written. And I hope that you all will understand that these words were not written lightly, and to have the support of such a wonderful civil rights leader for 7 decades, a civil rights leader, honored in so many wonderful ways. So I'll just go forward and read her words. So according to Mattie, as she said in her own words, economic development is a major concern. My desire to move most of the crime and heartache from West Louisville is intense. We are fighting to see the people of West Louisville believe they are citizens again and be treated as such by gaining access to resources that have been taken away from us. I want to see Louisville continue to develop. We love to see things like the track on 30th and the Goodwill store coming to 28th and Broadway, but we know that that is not enough. West Louisville needs to be restored. The Louisville we see today is nothing like the Louisville we experienced 60 years ago. We want to see neighborhood grocery stores, shops, factories. Folks who are unable to drive should be able to walk to work and be greeted by other citizens doing the very same thing, without the projection of being lower class as they're walking to work, without the projection of being less than because they're walking to work. West Louisville needs to be valued again. There is a lost sense of pride, a lost sense of hope, and a loss of love as it relates to the people in this community. Believe in West Louisville again. That's the only way economic development will happen. Therefore, we want West Louisville to come alive again and be rebuilt with industries that help us serve one another. The spirit and wages need to be uplifted, especially of those who have been here their whole life and are currently raising others in this community. We must be able to serve and look beyond the St. Matthews and have a vision that includes West Louisville and the total Louisville. We must bring unity where we are divided. The streets of yesteryear still exist, but they look very different. Like River Road that was meant for white people and Chestnut that was made for Blacks. Economic development begins with identifying that lack of diversity and equity in communities, identifying the voice that represents that lack of diversity and equity that we're seeing in these communities. So those are her wonderful, powerful words. Again, she wishes she could have been here. And I just want to turn over the mic to future Mayor Timothy E. Findley Jr.
Well, again, thank you all for being here today. Let me first start by thanking the amazing Jasmine Presley and the Presley Post. Absolutely. And I hope that those who are watching via live stream will come down, take a look at this magnificent space and use it. This is such a gem in our city. So thank you to Jasmine. Thank you, Dr. Angelique. She was pulled in at the very last minute to read Miss Mattie's words. But again, I thank for her just support over the years and the brilliance in which she works with and works through. And we're thankful for her. And then, of course, I can't say enough about Miss Mattie Jones. To stand here talking about economic development, running for mayor, and to have the icon, Miss Mattie Jones, to support what you're doing, it just means so much. So again, I'm thankful for her. Before we get into this, I do want to just take some time and acknowledge, send prayer, and acknowledge what's going on in Ukraine right now. That there were people there that woke up this morning and their city is under siege. Their country is being invaded. So we want them to know, we want people in our city to know that although it's a world away, it really does. It impacts all of us. So our prayers and our thoughts are with the people of Ukraine. From the time that I announced my candidacy to be the next mayor of Louisville, Kentucky, I have consistently talked about bold change, a shift in the culture of our city, and being a champion for equity. Today, we are very excited to give you a brief glimpse of that vision for Louisville. Today, we're here to talk about economic development and equity in our city. Economic development describes the process of growing an economy by using policies and programs to create and retain jobs, increase wealth, strengthen the tax base, and improve economic well-being of the community. Traditionally, measures of economic well-being have focused on fiscal health. Equitable economic development is achieved when the policies and programs used to spur growth are specifically designed to ensure that traditionally underserved communities and individuals share in the benefits of growth. The end goal is for individuals to be both benefactors and beneficiaries of community and economic development initiatives. While many corporate leaders and political figures and even candidates have spoken about the methods we must challenge in order to drive innovation and business growth, there is little public conversation around the existing methods and the dismantling in order to drive racial equity within economic development. It's time for that to change. And as your next mayor of Louisville, Kentucky, that will change. This equity lens isn't just about efforts. It's about results, measurable, meaningful outcomes in the lives of people and our communities citywide. We will foster and cultivate an equity ecosystem that moves our city forward. We're thankful for the historic announcement yesterday between Norton and Goodwill, the Goodwill Industries, and that partnership of $70 million coming to the West End. But we understand there must be more. We must see individuals like Tara Level and the 1619 Gathering Place and the work around health that she's been doing. We must rally and support. We must rally and support people like Randall and Eric at One Stop Fitness, who are now owners of one of the biggest Black-owned businesses, gyms, in our city. We've got to support the great people over at Melt 502 who have opened up a brand new restaurant, who are doing amazing work. We've got to be that HBCU town that separates our city from so many other cities, that we have a strong HBCU right here in our city. I'm reminded of the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was committed to economic justice just as he was committed to ending segregation. He said, philanthropy is commendable, but it must not cause the philanthropist to overlook the circumstances of economic injustice which make philanthropy necessary. Economic development is about growth. While growth creates more favorable conditions for shared prosperity, economic gains, they do not automatically trickle down to marginalized communities. Truly inclusive, equitable growth requires focused and intentional strategies that connect people and places that have been left behind to good, family-sustaining jobs and wealth-building opportunities in the regional economy. Advancing equity requires cultivating an equity-obsessed mindset, one in which challenging existing methods and systems is simply a starting point rather than the end goal. Each of us, every organization, every city leader, every industry across every sphere of influence has the moral responsibility and the opportunity to not only dismantle inequity in the short term, but to cultivate equity for the long term. As the next mayor of this great city I was born in, I grew up in, I live in, and I raised my daughter in with her awesome mother, happy birthday, Celeste, I'm committed to bringing that level of change. And this will not be done alone. This cannot be done alone. I am privileged and honored to work alongside someone who I believe is one of the most brilliant thought leaders and business women in our city, business people, period. I am thankful for her input. I'm thankful for her expertise, along with Neil Turpin, in crafting what I believe is a transformational change for this city. If you would help me to welcome my good friend and the amazing business person, Carla Dearing.
Thank you, Tim. It's exciting to be able to collaborate on a vision for equitable, sustainable, shared economic growth for Louisville. You and I share a passion, not just for innovation in policies and programs, but also for doing more with what we already have. We've identified 10 drivers of economic growth that work in tandem. It starts with improvements in quality of life, moves on to community and infrastructure, and then drives business growth. To create what planners and economists call a virtuous circle. When you think about quality of life, education, housing development, income, jobs, and workforce development, moving down onto community and infrastructure, arts and culture, parks and festivals, community health and safety, public transit and city planning, driving business growth, talent attraction and retention, business attraction, commercial development, and small business and startup ecosystem. How does this really work? Create a place where people want to be, where they will move and stay. People often go where jobs are, but jobs often go where people are. If we get this momentum going, then it's easier for our community to create and grow our own businesses. How is this different? First, it reflects what other cities have learned about what really stimulates, drives growth in cities, in their economies. Whenever you do an effort like this, it's supposed to be 3 things. But 3 things doesn't cut it. It's 10 things. And doing all of them is very key. You know, Louisville has made efforts in some of these areas, and actually in many of these areas at a given time. A couple years ago, I worked on the effort of talent attraction, where local foundations really help the city with a marketing campaign to say, hey, come to Louisville. But one effort does not bring the momentum. It's really about a credible effort across all of these areas. This plan is also different because it creates growth not just for the benefit of a few dozen people. That's not real growth. It creates inclusive growth, shared prosperity. It's also different because it puts under one of the org chart, if you will, from a strategy and management perspective, all of these initiatives. I know, Tim, you and I agree, how we organize ourselves can drive change. Finally, it's different because it does include policy changes and new program ideas, but it also relies on citizen leadership mechanisms that bring creativity and energy and momentum. And many of these are already in place. They just need to be elevated. Need I say more, listening to Jasmine's presentation? Does the city really need to sit in a conference room a couple blocks down and try to figure out how to help people grow their businesses? Or can they just embrace and elevate efforts like this one, where the model is there, the relationships are there? And so this concept underlies a lot of these drivers. So here are the specifics in terms of moving from talking to doing and getting real results among these drivers. The first thing I want to say, though, is a quick note about community health and safety, which is one of the drivers. The campaign has already announced its plan for community health and safety, and so we're not going to cover it here other than to say that it is a prerequisite for the rest of this plan to work. We're not credible to the outside world, which is where the businesses and the talent that we're trying to attract are, if we haven't dealt honestly with things that are dividing our community. We don't always recognize that we are famous nationally and internationally for not a really great thing right now. But if Louisville is doing the work, if it's leading, the city can be rebranded in the outside world as a place that's working to deliver true growth opportunities for all. And those who come here to make a difference and there are many of us who have, they'll find more fertile ground and get more traction. The first driver, education. Because the decision-making process in education is controlled by the state, what the plan focuses on is we'll look at every single department in the city. There's 26 directors and 8 chiefs currently. Every single one of them will be asked to make one of their top 3 KPIs, their key metrics, their key drivers, something that helps with student engagement or greater instructional time, which are the 2 elements that are the biggest drivers of improved academic achievement. A quick example of that, I'm on the TARC board. What if the TARC shuttles made another run to schools later in the day to pick up the sports and the activities kids and brought them home? Student engagement goes up, academic achievement goes up. Imagine 26 direct reports, everyone thinking their best thoughts about how that could be done. We become a partner to the education system and really rev up the city. I'll give you one good example of citizen engagement in this area that we would really lean in on. Evolve 502 during the pandemic gathered all the organizations, including the city, throughout the pandemic and pushed hard on all the things, they call them wraparound services, but all the things that could be done to support students during that period of time. That's an example of what we're talking about and something that we can build on. We don't need to recreate that. Arts, culture, parks, festivals, making this a great place to live. The plan includes the creation of an arts council to seed many more events and initiatives than we have now. It would provide through funds seed capital with a 3-year commitment for each event, giving it time to get its legs under itself. It would focus on and support neighborhoods in their events and streamline the process of neighborhoods getting permits and having pop-up music events and all kinds of things like that. Finally, we're going to be watching for the equity study that's being done on the parks in the city. That will be completed at the end of 2022. And we will be ready to invest in areas where there's a gap, where there's an equity gap in ensuring that there are great parks for all neighborhoods. Moving on, once we're doing some of these things, the buzz is going, talent attraction and retention. We will work with the fastest growing businesses, which typically in this town are the tech businesses. And we're gonna help them with educational partnerships in a 300 to 400 mile radius of this region who are churning out the tech grads that we need and help them bring them to Louisville, accelerating the growth of their businesses. They will also help us design recruitment packages, housing incentives, tax incentives, memberships, festival passes. Some cities are giving Bitcoin. Why not rely on the businesses that are providing these jobs to help define what will attract the talent to come here? And then finally, for retention, and this is particularly for the Black and brown professionals that we are losing in droves. The plan includes encouraging broad-scale, deep company DEI training for all employers to ensure a welcome and empowering environment for our new recruits, all our new recruits who expect this new kind of working environment. Then moving to housing and focusing on creating places to live that improve income and quality of life. The plan includes incentivizing the development of low-income and workforce housing. We're not the only ones talking about that. But we're going to use special tactics to ensure that each development includes at least 15 to 20% of the lowest level AMI, not to get all technical, but that's 30% AMI, which is needed for our community. Workforce housing is a little easier to build at 60 to 80% AMI. And in fact, we have the largest low-income housing developer right here in Louisville who does that kind of housing all the time. We just need to work with them and others like them to create special incentives to bring that lower API housing. And I want to make one more point about that, is best practices around the country to put that lowest income housing in communities in a mixed income setting. I mean, we've all heard that. It gives everybody the best chance to thrive. We're also going to put that housing near employers, near the major employers. First of all, that will meet their needs, improving income for the people living there, and also help to increase diversity in our communities. And then the community health and safety plan had a number of elements that fit in this as well. Absent landlord property reclamation, rental rate freeze, property tax freeze, basically the ideas of what are our ideas for anti-gentrification that will help the growth be fair to everyone. We have to have that from day one. Income, jobs, workforce development. The plan establishes a work relations director to focus on worker pay, wages, benefits, wage theft, worker safety, bargaining. We're going to give that department power to fine, like code enforcement, but the fine goes to workers. We're going to pursue $15 to $20 minimum wage for city employees. First of all, giving them a livable wage, and also raising the bar for other employers in the community. We're also wanting to build on another successful citizen-led effort, which is the JCPS Academies pathways involving Jefferson, Simmons, Spalding, U of L. Last I knew, 120 companies in the city with Kentuckiana Works, GLI. Why would you recreate all of that? These are pathways that are working across many, many industries. We can drive more adults through these pathways by really supporting these efforts that already exist. A lot of creativity and excitement that we can lean into in those efforts. We don't need a separate new council or new director. We need to recognize this exciting momentum is already there. And what can we do to support it? Now, business attraction. I think you're starting to see the wheel is moving, the momentum is coming. We're targeting 6 new national companies to come to Louisville. Okay, when the top professionals get recruited to our current companies, they have nowhere to go afterwards. When we send our kids off into other cities for their first jobs, when they want to come back and they excited, they think there's a chance in Louisville, and then they find out there are not top jobs, we have to bring in a lot more of this top level cutting edge talent. And I'll just give you one example. That would be citizen-led too. Businesses can help us recruit. Citizens can help us recruit these top businesses. I personally have been involved in discussions with the largest real estate developer in the country that is looking at Louisville as a market to enter. Why? Because a minority-owned developer brought them here and started the conversation. And actually, getting off script for a second, their top brass was on the Zoom call because it is, after all, the pandemic. And they said, is Louisville going to do all of this that we're talking about? Can you imagine we just had to sit there for just a minute? I have to tell on myself. I said, yes, Louisville's going to do this. Very exciting. We got to make sure I didn't leave anything else out in business attraction. Yes, we're going to do the NBA deal and get it done. It's time. Whatever. Yeah, I see a lot of excitement. It's interesting because we're all kind of like, why is that deal not happening? Is there a reason why we shouldn't say this? Are we going to look? I've got knowledge that there is no reason why we shouldn't say this. It's time to get it done. Are there going to be barriers? Yes, but we'll get through them. We'll address the issues and get the NBA in town. Finally, we are going to think about tax incentives differently in business attraction. If they've got equity components, they're going to get our attention. But those will also include clawbacks for non-performance if it turns out it didn't quite work out as expected. Now, commercial development. Equity-oriented developments will get city attention and time. You know, a lot of other development happens in the city, have at it. But where the focus needs to be is in this area. We're going to put a sustainability lens. We're looking for net zero builds, and we don't want to spend too long to get there. Improved fairness and effectiveness in zoning, permitting, citations, etc. Entrepreneurs and developers are telling us we need to be a better environment to build and innovate in. And finally, we want to support the efforts to make sure that the West End Partnership gets operational and is providing the needed development capital in neighborhoods. This is another example of a citizen-led mechanism. You don't have to recreate it. We have to support and make sure it gets operational and is effective. Small businesses and startups. The Path Forward, another citizen leadership mechanism, identified very strong need for support for small businesses in the area of infrastructure investments, incentives, just to be specific, accounting, legal, e-commerce, marketing, co-marketing space, labs, training. Does this all sound familiar? The startups need all of this too. All of the small businesses, all of the startups. We're going to innovate by combining this into one initiative. Really focus on the infrastructure that it takes to help businesses to grow. And especially lean into the citizen leadership, AMPed, Story. There are places in Louisville that have already built a fantastic pipeline of people who are growing businesses at all levels. What if they work together? And what if we focused on the growth strategies for all of them? That's going to make a big difference in the city. We also want accelerated paths to capital, non-dilutive grants, debt, equity. Someone was telling me the other day, make a grant writer available to pop in and make a grant happen and pop back out so I can move on. Those are ideas that are coming from citizens. And we're going to work on having our established businesses involved as clients in this new ecosystem. Guess what? Another citizen-led initiative that I learned about in the last 6 months that's already out there. It needs a lot of oomph and support. It's actually never really been done, but we believe we can do it. Last but not least, public transit and city planning. We're going to make public transit integral, central to the economic development and planning of the city. And that is obvious because it is not only the vehicle that can do most for equity, it's also the vehicle that can do the most for sustainability. And our youth are calling for that. They want us to be a different, a cleaner city. And there's no reason, this is a perfect example where policy can change everything. Bring that centrally into the economic development conversation. The opportunity for free fares is very, very real. And we're going to put them in place. They can be designed in different ways. They could be designed to support education. They could be designed to support downtown revitalization. They could support or be tied to universal basic income to double down and help those families. Free fares, absolutely, and bringing a group together to think about what's the most impactful way to introduce those. And finally, east-west, north-south network improvements and plans for the whole city. As major corridors, rapid transit, serving the employers, serving more residents, those planning initiatives can really help the city. For instance, TARC's improvements and planning efforts on Route 23, which is Broadway and beyond, really could help catalyze the city's Broadway corridor redesign. I'm sorry that was long, but as I said, 3 priorities is not going to get it done. We're really excited and appreciative to be able to talk about the whole system of drivers that will make a difference in Louisville.
something that you will hear between, from now until May 17th. That day, May 17th, will be one of the most consequential elections in the history of this city. This campaign, I'm so proud of what we're doing. We have the most comprehensive plan of all the candidates that is public right now. What you just heard will be on our website. I'm excited about where we're going from here. Trust and believe. I know that things are being reported that would make it seem as though this race is over. I can guarantee you this race is just getting started. Thank you. I want to thank the Findley for Mayor team. They're all through the room. They're working, doing amazing, amazing things. Again, I want to thank Carla Dearing. What can we say? What can we say? She definitely got me some votes today. I know. To Dr. Angelique Johnson, again, for her wonderful support. My friend Neil Turpin, who's running for District 30. District 30 is the district I grew up in. So I'm standing behind him. He has my full support. I'm excited about it. We have another gentleman that's running for District, Jerron Crook for District 3. And I'm standing with him as well. So again, thank you to the media. Thank you for being here. I will be available for questions outside in the area. We can just do a one-on-one type thing, but it's the middle of the day, and I know that some people are hungry. So appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And again, Jasmine, y'all get to the Presley Post. This is where it's at. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, you guys. I'll be back at 3 o'clock with another campaign announcement from another mayoral candidate, Fred Greenberg.